Building strong relationships with suppliers, it's really important for a lot of different reasons, about six specific reasons we're going to talk about today. So today we're going to talk about exactly why it's so essential that you have great relationships with suppliers. But most importantly, we're going to talk about the action items you should be taking to have great relationships with suppliers. Look, this can save you a ton of money, be able to get what you need from suppliers easier, faster, and cheaper. I mean, there's so many benefits we're going to dive into and give you the path to actually succeed. Oh, we got a lot to cover, so let's dive in. All right, so let's talk about suppliers. So obviously, in a lot of businesses, you're dealing with getting what you need to sell or parts of what you need to sell from other providers, right? From suppliers. And there's a lot of reasons that having phenomenal relationships with suppliers makes a difference. As a matter of fact, in a lot of businesses, it could make or break you just because of how essential and important those relationships are. So, first of all, of the six, let's talk about consistent supply, right? So, we've seen a lot of things happen over the last 2 years with disruptions with the supply chain, right? We saw in COVID, when COVID hit, that we had all these problems with supply chain issues that affected a lot of us for many years to come, right? And when that happened, we saw increased cost. We saw lag time of getting things delivered. And a lot of companies that suffered from that sold substantially less money. I mean, trillions and trillions of dollars were lost because what was happening was that people had the customers to buy, but they couldn't produce the products to actually sell. And all of that happens with an inconsistent supply chain, with a disruption to the supply chain. So when this happens, having a great relationship with your supplier puts you on the very top, right? I've learned this in business lending. By getting together really complete loan packets I send to underwriters, I get preferential treatment. So it means all my clients get to move to the top of the stack. We don't have to wait as long. We get better pricing. We have faster underwriting times. The same thing applies with suppliers. When you have great relationships and they're limited on what they can supply, they're obviously going to go to their most valuable relationships first and service them first. So having continuity of supply chain, having consistent supply, being put at the top if something does happen that causes a disruption, where you get what you need first, is one of six essential reasons that you need to have phenomenal relationships with your suppliers. The second is higher quality, right? When you have good relationships with suppliers, a couple things happen. First of all, they bring you in when they're producing something else and give you an opportunity to test that and have access to it before anybody else. We do that. You probably do it too as an entrepreneur, right? We give preferential treatment to our top partners. At Credit Suite, we help business owners get in the business of offering business credit and lending as a service. And we have preferred partners that do a lot of business. They're easy to work with. Our team loves them. They set up the right expectations. They meet all this criteria and they become like one of our internal preferred partners. We give those partners preferential treatment. One of the first things we do is whenever we're testing, rolling anything out, we go to them first and say, do you want access to this first? Do you want to have this before anybody else has it? And actually work with us to test it, work out the kinks. So they are first to market with things that we release because of our relationships with them. It's exactly the same thing with suppliers. When you have good relationships with suppliers, whenever they're releasing a new version or a better version of something, you're typically the one they call and say, hey, do you want to have access to this first? It gives you first of market advantage where you can go out, hit the market with that, capture a bunch of market share before there's even any competition to begin with, right? The second piece of this is higher quality, meaning that when you have good relationships with suppliers, they're making sure you're really good and well taken care of, right? You're getting the highest quality service. You're getting the highest quality product. You're getting the highest quality, whatever it is you're buying from them. But typically the product or service you're buying from them, and as well as the customer service you're receiving from them, is absolutely at the top. So I see this at Credit Suite, right? We have a funding team that funds deals. I guarantee you that when I email our funding team and go, hey, I've got a deal, it's a buddy of mine, I guarantee that person gets put to the top. They're treated differently than another client would be treated. I don't want that to happen. I want us to treat all of our clients like they're absolute gods, right? That's how we expect our customers to be treated. But the reality is you can't offset the bias that if the CEO of the company is sending it and saying it's a friend, you're going to treat him a little bit different and better, right? So it's the same thing here. You're going to be able to get higher quality service. You'll be able to get higher quality products just because you have this phenomenal relationships with your supplier. And by the way, if you're just coming in, give me a shout out. Give me your company name. I'm going to give your company a shout out here. Thousands and thousands of people will see this. So it's like a free plug. It's like free advertising and marketing for us to you, right? So just give us a company name, your company name, a shout out, and I'll give you a shout out. Yvonne says, hey, Ty from Queens African Holistic Health chapter of New York. Looking good, Ty. Yvonne, thank you very much for coming in. Yvonne did that. She's got a shout out. So do the same thing. Type your company name in. I want to give you a shout out here on the stream. The other thing is better pricing, right? That's probably one of the most important reasons that we want to get from suppliers. If you watch the show Shark Tank, we see this a lot where somebody's out there trying to go mass market, but their price is too high. And the sharks know, and they know that if they do more volume, they get better pricing. They get discounts, and that allows them to scale even easier, right? It's like this catch-22. They can't scale with high prices, but they can't get prices down unless they scale. Well, you have great relationships with your suppliers. You're going to get better pricing. You're going to get discounts. You're going to be the first one to be able to know when they do offer discounts. You're able to get bulk pricing and pricing that other people just do not get access to. And again, this helps improve your profit margins. And what I love about that is if you're running your business the right way, then 100% of that increase in profit could potentially go in your pocket if you want to. Your choice. Do you want to reinvest in the business for growth or put more of it in your pocket? Either way, you're able to put a lot more money in your pocket because when you have great relationships with suppliers, you're able to get what you're buying from them cheaper, discounted, and it gives you a competitive advantage because even your competitors that are buying from the same supplier, you're buying for less than they are. So you can either make more profits or lower your price and underprice them and still be able to make the same or more money with those lower prices. Now, the other nice thing is you get bulk discounts, right? So when you have good relationships with suppliers, you're able to actually go out there and get bulk discounts for buying more from them. Now, we do this, for example, in the software space where we come to near the end of the year, we have some money to spend, we'll go in and discount paying 6 months in advance or a year in advance for the software, and then getting sometimes upwards of 30 to 60% discount just because we're paying so much. They're trying to make their year end strong, right? We're trying to save money. Everybody wins. Same thing with suppliers. When you have a good relationships, you're able to get discounts because you're ordering in bulk. And again, 100% of that goes to your bottom line, right? It just increases your profit margins, which gives you more money to invest in the business for growth or gives you more money to put in your pockets as well. You're also getting, again, priority treatment. You get front of the line treatment, right? They take your calls. You might even get a VIP Slack channel. We give some of our clients and partners that. They have a Slack channel to actually Slack our team because internally we consider Slack to be urgent, right? Email not as urgent. If I need somebody on my team to respond something quickly, then I go to Slack. And that is our own internal methodology here at Credit Suite. We respond to Slacks before we respond to email. If something's time sensitive or urgent, it goes through Slack. If it's not, it goes through email. Everybody's different, right? But we have our own internal system. And one of the benefits we give our top partners is access to our internal system where they can actually communicate directly through our own best channels, our preferred VIP channels as well. Same thing for you. You get priority treatments, whatever that may mean, right? Sometimes they might give you sporting tickets to your favorite games. Sometimes they may pay for flights or hotels or vacations for you. Sometimes they may just give you priority phone numbers, email addresses, or priority access to get you service faster and better. Sometimes they prioritize to get you faster shipping or to get you a more premier product delivered quicker. Everybody has different ways that they prefer, that they actually show priority to their top clients. But with suppliers, you're getting access to that priority treatment. And most importantly, you're getting leverage, right? Leverage. When you have these strong relationships with your suppliers, you're able to get more done. You're able to request more things. You're able to ask for favors. So I'm really big on this. I don't like to go into a relationship and tell somebody I'm going to do all this volume and all these things. Because typically when somebody says that to me, they never deliver. What I like to do is go in quietly into a relationship, blow them out of the water where they're like, where did this guy come from? He's doing all kinds of volume from us. Then they're contacting me and saying, hey, like, I don't know what you're doing, but we love it. It gives me leverage. Then when that happens, I have leverage. I don't call in favors very often. But when I do, I get stuff done because I'm able to say to them, look, I don't usually ask for anything, but I do need help right now. And it gives me leverage. It helps me get leverage in areas I normally wouldn't have leverage. Now, there's all types of things that leverage can do depending on the supplier that you're with, but you understand when you have your top clients in your business, they have more leverage than a normal client. They're able to better negotiate and get things from you because, again, they are your top client. So you'll show them more preferential treatment. So that leverage from that relationship can be used so many different ways with that supplier to basically get a better result faster and cheaper. And again, it helps your business operate more efficient. It helps you be able to beat competitors. It helps you increase your profit margin, all just because you have these great relationships with your suppliers. And by the way, Raheem is in the house, RAJT Hauling Dump Truck Services and OTR driver, Asheville, North Carolina. Raheem, thanks for coming in, man. Thanks for saying hello from YouTube. And again, if you're just coming in, give me your company name and I'll give you a shout out here. It's like free advertising where I can say hello and then thousands of people know about your company. So that way, in Raheem's case here, if somebody's in Asheville and says, hey, I need a dump truck or I need hauling, now they're going to go, oh my gosh, I heard that guy's name. I need that right now. And all of a sudden, Raheem gets a customer just like you can as well. Okay, so we've talked about 6 reasons that having relationships with suppliers matters so much. Let's dive into the second part of this. How do you build strong relationships with suppliers and vendors? Well, first of all, is clear communication. I have a line that I say that there's rarely a problem in business and in life that communication will not solve. And I believe that. Like almost every problem I ever encounter, it's a communication problem. And if you get that communication ironed out and figured out, then everything is on a clear path. Now, not to get too far off the rails here, but for me, here's how I figured out how to do it. You find out what the goal is. We mess this up. We get so caught in the nitty-gritty of conversations or day-to-day that we oftentimes lose sight of what we're trying to accomplish. As a matter of fact, I'm reading a phenomenal book on communication, and it actually talks about this one thing. It phrases it different. It gives it a fancy name, but it's basically knowing the result you want up front, knowing the goal up front. I find that very important in communication, to go into any scenario and know what you want. Sometimes I actually just had a meeting with our COO and she said, hey, I know you want this, but I can deliver this. Can we figure out a way to meet? And I said, let me just tell you what my goals are. Here's where I want to end up. Here's the end result that I want. And she goes, I can do this and this and this to get you here. Here's what's interesting. She proposed way better ways to get there than what I had. Okay, what I asked her for was like 2 new products that did this. She's like, I'll give you 3 new products that do this, this, and this. I was like, what? You can do that? I didn't even know it. But the reason it went so well is because I said, look, let's not talk about what I want and what you can deliver. Let's just say, here's what I want goal-wise for the customer. Here's the goal that I want. And then you figure out like how to get me something like that. And she came back with a way better solution. So I find that communication is very important, especially with suppliers, because the more you can communicate about, hey, I'm going to see a drop in orders this month. Hey, I'm going to see an increase in orders this month. Hey, this is happening. This is happening. The more you communicate with them, the more they know what to expect. And the better they have of an expectation of your relationship, the happier they are going to be. So I always like, when it comes to open communication, to be able to put the goal out there of what you're trying to accomplish in the beginning. If you just do that one thing, you'd be shocked at how much your life would change. If you just said, look, here's the goal of what we're trying to accomplish today. Here's the goal of what I want. And then everybody understands how to get there. And then it's easier to be able to get to that result. In the military, we call this commander's intent. And this is how it works. If I tell somebody, if I'm a special ops guy, never was, right? I was a medic. I helped fix those guys up. I wasn't the one that went out there and did all the flashbang stuff. But if I was a special forces, right? And I'm a soldier on the ground and my boss says, go take that building. And I get to that building and the stairwell's blown up and there's no way to get there. I got to go back to my commander and say, what do you want me to do now? But if my commander says to me, hey, go take, here's the goal. The goal is that you need the best vantage point of the West, and you are now covering that direction. Now everything changes. Now I look and I say, that building's going to give me my best vantage point. I go to that building, the stairwell's blown up. I say, this isn't going to work. I immediately can make a command decision to go find another solution to get me that vantage point. That in the military is what is known as commander's intent, telling your troops what the goal is, what the intention is, so they can then go by themselves and self-solve the problem without coming to you because you just told them what to do, not why you're doing it. So communication is really big in everything you do, especially with suppliers. Maintain those open lines of communication. The more you tell them about what to expect from you and meet those expectations, the better relationship you're going to have with them. The next thing, obviously, is timely payments. Look, in business credit world, you can get credit lines with almost every vendor you deal with. One of our clients buys like roofing supplies from one company. She got $300,000 credit line with that company because she built her business credit. Now, if she doesn't pay her bills on time, she's not going to maintain that relationship and the integrity of that relationship. So you've got to make sure that you are paying those bills on time or early. They need to see you as 100% reliable, somebody that is always going to pay. And when that happens and you combine that with communication, if you ever need to pay late and you communicate with them and they never see that you are somebody that pays late, then all of a sudden you'll have all kinds of exceptions. You might say, hey, I need another week to pay. They say, take 3 weeks because you have a good relationship. You've done all these things. You communicate. You told them what was going on. And because of that, they may even give you more time than you need. So make timely payments. And for God's sake, if you can't, communicate that with them before it happens. Tell them, hey, this happened. I'm going to be delayed this month. It's very unlike me, as you know, from my payment history. Here's what you can expect. That communication goes a long way for them to give you the extension of the time that you need to actually pay that bill. And by the way, Wesley Jones is in the house, calling in from Atlanta, Georgia. His business is RYG Technologies. He's a member of Credit Suite and looking to upgrade to the next level of my membership. I love that, Wesley. Thanks for coming in and joining us again from YouTube. Thanks for coming in and saying hi. So the next thing on how you build strong relationships with suppliers is transparency. Just tell them what's going on. Let me tell you, I've been in lending for over 2 decades, and I kill it in this space, and I'll tell you why. When crap hits the fan and things go wrong, I look at the problem, I find potential solutions, and I call the person that's on the other end that's affected, and I tell them what's going on. And I'm one of the only guys that does this for some unknown reason. You see, I find that how people handle negatives when things go wrong really is what ultimately defines who they are. What do you think? You agree with that? That's what I find. Look, everybody can be happy and everything's good when things are going good. But when crap hits the fan, it's kind of when you really shake it out to know who's who, right? And I'm the kind of guy that when crap hits the fan, I don't run from it. I run into it. Now, I never like to personally call anybody with a problem and say, oh, here's a problem, and leave it at that. I don't like to always come in and say, here's the problem. Here's what I'm doing to solve the problem. But I never run away from the problem. I'm transparent and honest and open and saying, here's what's really going on. I don't hold back from anybody. I'll say, look, I'm letting you know, here's what's going on. There's a big problem. Now, here's what we're doing to solve the problem. Here's what we basically estimate the solution will be. This is what we think it's going to look like when it's solved. And this was essential in the mortgage business. When I owned a mortgage company, crap went wrong all the time. I got people thinking they're closing on a home. I got people in a U-Haul truck at a Motel 6 thinking they're about ready to move in the next day, and I just got a call that killed the whole deal and started it over, and I got another 30 days ahead of me, right? Every excuse to put my tail between my legs and run and hide and be scared. But I've learned not to do that. I've learned to just come in and be transparent and say, hey, here's what's going on. Here's the problem. Here's what caused the problem. Here's what we're doing to solve the problem, and then we move on. And then even if they're upset, at least they know what's going on. And they know that somebody's working on executing an actual solution for them. Look, that's my strategy. Yours may be different. But transparency is important. When you can't pay your bill, when something's going to go wrong that you're afraid to disappoint the other party, be transparent. Get on the phone, get in person, get on a Zoom, whatever, and say, this is what's going on. Here's what happened. Didn't see it coming. I'll be the first to say, mess that up. My mistake. And I'll tell you what, here's what I'm doing to solve the problem, and here's what I'm doing to solve the underlying issue so it never happens again. I'm the king of taking ownership of things, even more than I should. And here's why. It's what I teach my kids. It's not a matter of fault. It's never a matter of fault. It's a matter of what could you have done better in that situation to get a better outcome. And that's how I raise my kids. It's what I believe, right? Because my son will be like, it's her fault. I'm like, it's not her fault. Okay. You could have done things different to get a better outcome. And the fact that you're blaming it on her is why this will constantly happen again and again until you take ownership of it and you understand that you could have done things different. If you would have done things different, it probably wouldn't have worked out that way, right? That is, again, about transparency. So you've got to make sure that you're transparent. When you're transparent, you're open, you acknowledge what's happening. It goes a long way, especially with suppliers. Wesley says 1,000% agree. I love that. CJ Peterson's in the house. It's easy to be great when things are great. Totally agree with you. I appreciate that, CJ. Thank you very much for coming in. Next thing, adjust expectations, right? Never set unrealistic expectations. Man, do I deal with this all the time with our partners. Say we got partners out there that want to sell business credit and financing. And a lot of them will say whatever they have to sell to make the money. Then the customer gets upset because they set the wrong expectation and what they told a customer was going to happen didn't happen. Set the right expectations. Set the right expectation with your clients. Set the right expectation with your suppliers. If you know your supplier is not going to deliver something for 2 weeks, don't tell your client that they're going to get it in a week. Then you're under pressure and you're going to the supplier and saying, I told him it was going to be a week. Now I need you to deliver it faster. Now you're pressuring the supplier because you didn't set proper expectations. Same thing with the supplier. Don't set expectations you can't meet. Don't say you're going to order 1,000 units and order 100. Have you ever been there? Have you ever spoken or been invited to speak at an event? Events are an interesting thing. 100% of events I've ever attended have never had the attendee numbers that the person throwing the event told me they would. I don't know about you, right? Every time I go to an event, there's not nearly as many people as they said were going to be there. Every time I'm invited to speak in an event, there's not nearly as many people as they say there's going to be there, right? So it's just about expectations, okay? You've got to set reasonable expectations for your clients so therefore you're not pressing the supplier to do unrealistic things to meet expectations you shouldn't have set. And you got to set reasonable expectations for the supplier so you're not telling them you're going to have a big order, for example, when you're not. Then they go through all these hoops to make sure they're prepared. And then all of a sudden you leave them high and dry with this extra additional supply that you actually can't meet. That's how you burn relationships. But if you set the right expectations, then you're going to have better success. Look, if I know I'm going to have an increase in sales, I do this with our merchant account. With our merchant account, everybody has merchant accounts shut down. Not something I deal with a lot. Here's why. If I'm having a sale this month and I know I'm going to see an increase in sales, we're on the phone with the merchant company going, just to let you know, we're probably going to see a 10 or 20% increase in sales. It might not happen, but we're having a promotion. I think it's going to be well received. I'm giving you a heads up to know that you're going to see an increase in volume. It might trigger your system that something is going on because of it. Right? So set the right expectations. When you set the right expectations with your suppliers, then all of a sudden you meet those expectations, they can meet those expectations, and everybody is happy. And lastly, mutual respect and trust. And if you really tie all this together, it really is all of that comes down to mutual respect and trust, right? The people you're dealing with at that supplier company have jobs. They have people that they report to. And when you say things to them and they take those things up the chain, they look like fools if you don't honor your end of agreements, right? So you've got to be able to create respect and trust. You've got to respect and trust the people at the supplier and the supplier itself that you're dealing with, and they should respect and trust you. And if you just have respect and trust in a relationship, it's really astonishing on how much you can get done and how much, quite honestly, can be overlooked. We all completely screw the pooch sometimes. We screw up, right? And I'm blessed to be able to do these type of things in the relationships I have. So when I screw up, which is inevitable, I have enough respect and trust from the people around me to go, I screwed that one up. Here's what I did. Here's what caused it to go wrong. Here's my plan to fix it. And you know what? They're okay with that because I was honest. I was transparent. I was upfront. I've got their respect. I've got their trust. Because I combine all these things, I'm able to, in many cases, get exceptions. It's really quite astonishing. Where when this happens, humans, as our default is we want to help people. Most of us. There are some shady people out there, let's admit. But most of us, we genuinely want to help people. And when people mess up, we feel compelled as humans. It's a subconscious thing to help out. Let me give you an example. This is great. I think you're going to love this. One of my buddies has a tactics that he uses to get hyper engagement on a social media post. Here's the tactic he uses. He misspells words and does math incorrectly, right? So he'll come on the stream and he'll say, hey, I just signed up 5 clients this month and 9 clients last month. So all 13 of those clients, he does math incorrectly. And then people will go in comments and go, oh, that's actually 14. It's not 13, right? He goes, oh, thank you so much for your help. He actually deals with this little psychological principle that people want to help. So he intentionally misspells things, grammar wrong. He intentionally does wrong math. So people respond and engage and tell him he's wrong. And then all of a sudden it gets him more engagement. I remember the first live stream I ever did. This was Periscope. This was like the first live streaming platform back in the day when we were actually dealing with Twitter. Twitter's like version of live streaming, right? And I didn't know what I was doing. And I was on the stream. I was so freaked out and scared. And then I remember like telling people, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I pull up comments? And people would just come to my rescue. And they loved coming to my rescue to tell me what I could do to actually get better, right? So interestingly enough, if you just have mutual respect and trust with the people you have relationships with, especially your suppliers, you would be blown away at how much easier it is to get all kinds of things done with those suppliers, have a phenomenal relationship when you just basically have each other's back. So there you have it. There's 6 different reasons you want to have exceptional relationships with suppliers, and like at least 5 things you could do to have those relationships. And don't forget, when you build your business credit, these suppliers will oftentimes give you credit lines of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you want help with that, you can go to our link at creditsuite.com/EIN. Just go to creditsuite.com. Remember, EIN is what you get from the IRS when you set up your entity, /EIN. It'll give you a step-by-step guide to build business credit, because that's what will get you these massive credit lines and help you do a lot of volume with these suppliers, which is going to help you in the end get all these benefits and see increased profits. So that's it for me. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to go back to the beginning of this, whether you watched on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you're coming in from. You can go back to that platform and watch it from the beginning to see the 6 reasons you want to have great relationships with suppliers and the handful of reasons or more to be able to build those relationships. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Take care. Have a great day. I look forward to seeing you next time where we talk about more cool